The word Hispanic encompasses a large group of people whose heritage includes roots from Spain. Especially when you go south of the border, you realize that it's not relegated to one color of skin, eyes, or hair. The way our next guest looks may throw some people off, but she's Hispanic and calls herself the Redhead Latina. She shares her Mexican-American heritage with over 3 million followers on TikTok. Her most popular videos usually include her Mexican mom.
I'm feeling a little chaotic, so I'm gonna tell my Mexican mom that her salsa isn't spicy enough.
Oye, ma, tu salsa sabe diferente.
¿Por qué?
No es tan picosa.
No manches, Ana, le puse 45 chiles, ¿cómo no va a picar?
¿Por qué no 60?
Ay, no, mijita, por el amor de Dios.
No sabe a agua.
No tienes idea. Ahorita le pongo más, no te preocupes.
All right, there's a lot of conversation about some hot sauce. Saia joins us to share how social media and a dose of reality and humor help to bridge some cultural gaps. And by the way, did your mom feel like it was necesita más picante?
A little bit, definitely.
A little bit. All right, I want to talk about how you grew up. You grew up in Las Vegas. Your dad's side of the family is the kind of where the Italian Saia last name comes from, but you weren't as close to them because they had passed away. But your mom's side of the family, your mom is from Mexico City.
Yeah.
And so you often visit Mexico and Florida to see family. Your cousins, you say, are more like your siblings. And so time with them really helped you to really understand also, along with your mom, that part of your Mexican culture.
Absolutely. I mean, all I did growing up was I was even baptized in Mexico City with my cousin when I was like 2 months old, so it's definitely been going back and forth between when Vegas to either Florida or Mexico, everywhere. I'm just kind of been included into that part of my family. So that's all I really know.
Yeah. Okay. With that said, Spanish is not your first language. So you kind of went the opposite way. So Spanish is your second language, but you feel like it's important to connect to that. We have so many Spanish speakers around the world, but when you come to America, things sometimes change. Now, in my day, I remember I moved from Taiwan to San Antonio, and I was mesmerized by the Spanish language. I loved it. But my friends would say, we're not allowed to speak it out of the home. We're not allowed to speak it. So what they didn't do back then, all of them were saying, I wish I learned it. I wish I learned it.
Yeah, no, I definitely can relate to them because the whole reason why it's not my first language was because my mom, she just knew the struggle of being bilingual in school, especially, just trying to learn things, and it would put me at a disadvantage in her eyes. So that was why, I would only hear it. Whenever she was talking with my aunt or my cousins, she would always speak Spanish. But so I understood a lot of it. I was kind of like a little bilingual as a kid, but I just couldn't speak it. And later on, I was like, I just really want to learn. I want to connect with my relatives. I want to understand and have like a good concept of the language, just for me personally. I mean, my sister, she went a different route. She doesn't know it as well as I do anymore. But now to me, it's very important that I know it because of that reason.
What made you decide to share it on social media?
I think it was just, I understood that there was a lot of different people that were like me, that, I call myself a no sabo kid, and that just means that same thing. I didn't really grow up speaking it, so it's kind of broken. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, and it kind of shies them away from learning the language. So when I put myself on social media, I wanted it to be coming from a place of, okay, well, this is why I can't speak it as well, and also encourage others to want to learn, so that way they don't feel as shy or as intimidated by it, because once you get a handle of it, it is very amazing to speak and to be a part of such an amazing culture.
Yeah, you found a lot of people who are like, okay, that represents me too. And then you found those who are like, wait a minute, look at her. She doesn't look the part. But, as I mentioned earlier, it's really interesting when you go, especially south of Mexico, you see that when you say look the part, that look is everything. Then there's your race versus your ethnicity versus your nationality. When I was down in Venezuela, they go, negrita cubana, negrita Colombia, negrita Jaimacana. They didn't know what I was, right? And then when I said American, they went, "Ay, really?" So it's everything. It has all types of looks. But for you, you dye your hair, so oh, maybe that's it. Maybe her hair is black, but your hair is really naturally what?
Blonde.
Yeah. So
I'm
there
a
you
weta,
go.
which means like just white all over, really.
And so what lessons do you hope people learn with that?
I just hope, especially in the US, there is just a lot of like they call it diversity, but they don't see the whole side of the spectrum. You know, we are a huge diverse culture within it of itself. So being able to be proud of my heritage and just kind of share my own experiences, I have a real understanding now that a lot of people understand that I am doing a good thing, you know, and making sure that people don't feel as left out, regardless of what you look like, what you sound like. You know, I'm only one side of the story. There's a whole other spectrum that I hope other Hispanics will be more vocal about, you know, and it's just this is happens to be my story and I'm glad I get to share it with people and people can connect with my own experiences, you know.
Yeah. Were you surprised at the reaction you got with 3 million followers?
Like I didn't care. But then I realized
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be how it was because I mean, it all happened by accident in the beginning. And the more that I shared about it, the more that I kind of just went with it, more people just resonated with it. And, you know, that just made me feel like I'm doing something right, regardless of, you know, if I had 3 million or if I had 1,000, you know, to
Yeah.
me, it was more about connecting with people than, you know, trying to get to the biggest, you know, creator ever, you know, that's not what I want at the end of the day.
And with that said, so many times people think, oh, I want to be a content creator. And they may start from another way of, like you said, they may start with wanting to try to figure out a way to grab as most followers as possible, as opposed to doing something that's authentic, something that has a purpose for them. And that's what you did. You came up with something that was authentically you, and it took off. So what's your best advice to somebody who's thinking, I want to be a content creator?
Honestly, it's that, you know, just be your most authentic self. Being honest and being real online is so rare to see nowadays, especially with filters and just everything else in between. When you are real and honest with yourself, that's when you can reflect that online and you can just you earn a trust from your audience that really resonates with people. And that's kind of where people begin to follow you, begin to trust you for your judgment and everything. And that's where it all takes off because then you get brands that understand your message. You get people that support you, and it just kind of goes from there. You know, it has to come from a place of loving and understanding and honesty more than anything.
Ana, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.